Importance of this position is it will teach value of initiatives. It will also teach you that sometimes in order to improvise, you have to take some risks. Okay. Black having a chance to exchange queen, and black is also having a chance to take pawn with the bishop. So here, when you make these decisions, you have to start understanding, when you should capture queen into queen, and then rook will capture probably the f rook on d1, or if you can directly take on c5. So you have to understand both the lines, what's going to happen, because right now, if you notice carefully, in this position, you're having one island, two island, three island, four islands, and black has one, two, and three. So black has three islands and white has four islands. So technically, white should not be happy in the endgame. It is black who should be happy in the endgame. So let's start with queen into queen. And after queen into queen, we have to move rook f into d1 because rook was not so happy on the f file. Now the rook is super happy. And now bishop into pawn. Now, in this case, you have reached a situation where you need a plan. Okay. So,
turning point.
Yeah, this is a turning point actually. And that's how, in many situations, you face these turning points in complex situations. So you start understanding what are good things about you, what are bad things about you, and the same about opponent. And I've already taught you things to analyze like KPST, right? So king safety, pawn structure, choosing side, and finding tactics or finding threats. These are the four parameters you should use in order to assess position. Now, in king safety, I have taught you, just think the amount of concepts that you guys have learned, you can apply all those concepts here. In king safety, I have taught you two things specifically. One is safe king, other is uncastle king. I've already taught the class, right? Uncastle king. I've shown you some ideas how much points you should sacrifice in order to open up the uncastle king, right? So this is the case in which black king is about to castle, but still right now has not castled. Coming to pawn structure, I've already told you that, okay, you are having bad structure on the king side because you are having f3, f2, and h2. These are very bad. It won't lead you anywhere. But suddenly on the queen side, you will find a 3 versus 2 pawn majority. Also, you're having more islands than your opponent, so you should not go towards endgame. You should not start exchanging pieces because in endgame, it's not very favorable for your side. You will not be the one who will be better in the endgame. Apart from pawn structure, it comes to choosing side. In choosing side, I've taught you two things. Again, number one is...
The queen side, the king side at the center.
No. These are the sides in which you have to choose from. I am saying I've taught you two things in the concept of choosing side. Number one is attacker's ratio, right? You divide the board into three parts. You see and compare how many attackers and defenders are there on each side. That will give you a good idea. Number two is good pieces, bad pieces. Activity, right? Activity of pieces. Then we will come to choosing side. Then comes finding tactics or finding threats, meaning initiatives. And this final T will be the topic of today's class. So first of all, apply attacker's ratio and tell me which side is the right side for white to start the initiative.
Sir, king side.
Okay, why king side? What is the attacker's ratio on the king side? Tell me.
Sir, 2.
One bishop and?
Sir, second also bishop. White bishop.
But this guy is having no space. You want to go here, yeah?
Yes, sir.
To make some space. Okay, fine. Let's come to the queen side. How many in the queen side? Remember, I've taught you this majority attack and minority attacks, right? So you're having 3 versus 2 already. These guys are also in attacking nature. You are having 3, 4, 5, 6. Suddenly you are having more number of attackers on the queen side. So it's neither the king side nor the center. It should be the queen side because that is where you're having something. You are having a majority on the queen side. Bishop h6, it just stops castling. But you know what? The queen is not even there on the board. If you play something like bishop h6 and if you let me play something like rook d8 and if I exchange, fine. Who cares about the bishop is controlling f8 square? Suddenly I'm having a good position. Or even better is I will play a5 now. The whole point is you don't have queen on the board. And if you don't have a queen on the board, you cannot
It's not
really
needed to
attack the
castle.
queen. Yeah, it's not so important to castle. Anyways, I'm not going to castle. I will find safety on e7 because then other rook can also join the party. So we realize that queen side is the right side to attack. Number two, good pieces, bad pieces.
Two things. Number one, the bishop on e2 is blocked out.
Yes.
It's not very good. And the f and f pawns are double pawns.
Very bad. Yes. Once you have chosen the side, now you have to think of the final T. It means finding tactics and threats. It means initiatives, which is the topic of today's class. Because in T, in the segment of T, it's not only tactics always. You have to work your idea with every move should be a threat. Like you're trying to attack on the queen side, but you have to find threats so that you don't give black enough time to play something like king here and rook here.
Try to push the pawns. Then you try to get the other pieces in.
So you're saying a3, yeah?
A3, B4, and then you can try getting
Okay.
the
So now after a3, black will obviously play a5. And now it gets tricky.
Bishop c7.
Bishop c7, what does it do?
Bishop d2.
Bishop d2, I'll play a4. And the moment you play
D2.
b4, I'll one pass on you. What does it do? It's a fantastic bishop that you're having on f4. But you know, the knight is not so powerful. It's in the corner kind of. So you don't want to exchange your very good bishop with just for a knight. So how do you make it work? This is what you have to start learning. At your beginner chess level, it was taught that one bishop has 3 points, one pawn has 1 point, queen has 9 points. It is not true. Okay. Now you guys are at that level that you should realize that it is not true. At least in most of the middle games. Why? Because this bishop, we can say that, okay, it has 3 points. Fine, because it has both the diagonals kind of open. But this bishop is not even worth of 2 points because this bishop
point.
has no prospect. This rook is worth of 5 points. Fine. But this knight is not super much worth of 3 points. By initiatives, we will understand. Suppose if this guy is not worth of 3 points, how do you make it worth of 3 points in less and less number of moves?
Probably our goal is to get c5. If that's
Pawn c5, yeah?
so, that's our goal. Rook a b1, sir. Rook a b1.
Rook a b1, pawn a4.
C1.
Well, now you go here, take, and now I can even take here. This is where you have to start calculating. This is where you have to start finding moves that are difficult to find. So you go b4 anyways. This is what I'm trying to teach today. To make your mind consider, at least start considering these kind of moves. Remember, in order to make this bishop a 3-point piece, even if you have to sacrifice a pawn, do that. This is called as positional sacrifice. To improvise your position, you sacrifice a pawn. He take, you take, rook take, bishop takes pawn. And now what? I want to enter rook a8. Suddenly, you'll realize every piece of yours start participating. Probably just bishop e3. Don't allow bishop c5 here. If you have to do that, just do that like in this manner. Okay, so knight c8. And now just go rook b1. And they cannot stop it.
Why not a8?
Because I can
what about rook
castle. I can just castle. And you're down a pawn, no? So you have to get the pawn back.
Okay.
Get the pawn back with tempo. It's very important. Find threats and get
So
the
rook b1. So rook b1.
yeah, rook b1. And wherever the bishop moves, doesn't matter. Okay, bishop here, you cannot take pawn. Now what's the difference? The difference is, see, first of all,
The bishops are kind of good, and then you can also provoke c5.
exactly. What I'm trying to teach you is these kind of temporary sacrifices. You guys have to start taking these risks. It doesn't work every single time, but if you don't try, your mind will never start considering these moves. Are you guys able to understand what I'm saying? You have to start considering these moves. Let me show you again. Let's go back. In the game, however, Black just took on c5. And remember, white does not want to go in the end game. So white played queen c2. Game goes further. I believe black has a move now. What should black play? Black did not play that, but if I give you a chance to play the same position as black, you now know what is white going to do. What should you do as black? What is prophylaxis? I have taught you prophylaxis. As black, you should understand what is white's idea. I have just shown what is white's idea.
Before A3.
A3, B4, yeah? That's what white is trying to do, isn't it?
So we stop it?
Yes.
A5, sir.
White wants to improvise the bishop on b5. So a3, a4, and now b4 can never be possible. That is what prophylaxis means, no? You understand what the opponent is trying to do and just stop it. Black played f5. Black played f5. The idea is black is having a dark square bishop, so he wants to keep the pawns on the light square so that this bishop has all mobility. Next point is this bishop is again very bad. Remember at the start, Advait was saying that we want to play bishop d3 to activate, yeah? Now that can never be done. It's white to play.
Sir, rook d1.
Rook f d1. Okay, probably I can play something like, okay, let's try rook d1. Makes sense. So what do? Okay, first of all, one check. Take one check from me. What will you do?
Sir, h1.
King h1.
F1,
What's that? Sorry.
F1 or H1, anything.
Yeah, okay. Then take a tempo from me.
And
So g3, you have to return the tempo back probably, right? Also
Yeah.
here, right? That makes sense. Then I can go back. Even if you have b4, I can go bishop here to attack your rook. That's where the queen is sitting. Also, not just that, I'm threatening one more thing. Can you guys understand my hidden threat as black? Why have I gone to f6? There's a very hidden threat.
what?
What's so good? Oh.
What is black trying to do?
Trying to get the
Tap
piece out.
Black is trying to trap the bishop.
Then we can go for queen h7.
I'm returning the tempo. Now what? Come back.
Come back.
Now give me.
Why can't we play bishop h4?
And sir, queen takes bishop.
And then
Yeah,
queen
but then-
takes. And what is this concept? X-ray, yeah? Black played this move. Remember what black should have played. Black did not do that. So what will you do? First of all, I showed you white's idea. Then I showed you if white doesn't do that, how will black stop? Now I'm showing you if black doesn't do that also, what should white do now? It's improvisation. The queens are there on the board. You need b4. And this is the class you have to start understanding, guys, to level up. It's a beautiful sacrifice of a pawn. See why. Let's consider bishop takes. Let's consider that for a moment. Now, why have we sacrificed? Because we go c5.
Sir, what
Take the knight.
Sir, what about queen to b2?
Queen to b2. It attacks this guy, it attacks that guy like that. Wait.
Yeah.
So I can always remember, I can also give you intermediate check, no? And then bishop c5 back. So first of all, I want to go c5, hit the knight, knight d5, counter attack, and now the same thing that I wanted to do. And now how do I attack? Again, bringing everything in the game. King h1.
H1.
Just by sacrifice of a pawn.
Sir, is this an unstoppable mate?
Yes, you cannot stop it. I mean, you'll have to give pieces for that probably.
Check.
One move.
And now this bishop is useless for me right now because it does nothing. So probably just bishop here. Knight is
King
under
e8. Sir, king e8.
king e8. I guess it's like it's suicidal, yeah. Takes.
Oh, let's check. Yeah.
And I guess the move should be probably something like this. Or probably just exchange rooks. That should be the idea, maybe. So takes, and then again queen takes pawn. The idea is I want to hit here, and you will have a lot many moves to play, but certainly white is crashing through.
Yeah.
White is crashing through the position. You can play whatever you want. You can defend this guy, but you cannot defend the other way. And that is what you have to start learning. That's what you have to start learning. This is just game finish. Just by sacrifice of a pawn, everything started to happen. So in order to make sure that every piece of yours start participating in a full-fledged manner, even if you have to sacrifice the pawn for that, at least start considering how deep you should go. It depends. When you play serious matches, it depends more about your gut feeling, your playing style, your ability to take risks. That's what it takes. Okay, suppose he goes back to bishop here. Now what should you do? So rook d1, first of all, pin it, and the only way to play this position is probably a queen sack. Takes. That is the only way to play this. And now, what will you do? Now, this is a double rook versus queen endgame. And I've always said one thing.
So queen and rook was also there.
I mean, okay, forget about the exchange sack. Your exchange up, that's the main point. You're just +1 here. And with a worse pawn structure also. So it's not like super winning, but it's kind of +1 advantage. But I've said one thing, that whenever you face these rook endgames, you should try to exchange one pair of rook. Always try to exchange one pair of rook if you don't have double rooks, and if opponent has double rooks. The moment this happens, suppose even if he takes, you don't bother how is he taking you. He can take you like you should take like this, or probably like this only. Now their connection is loose. Every single piece is getting disconnected. Don't play the move c5, because you will allow, okay, even c5 is good, because knight d5, bishop c4. You just disconnect pieces. The more you realize that knight is connecting bishop and nobody can move the knight away, so you just go bishop c4 and just take it. And probably you'll be having a good position to play. I did not play b4, so we cannot argue too much on this. White played a good move, not a bad move. White played king h1 in the game. Now it is black's chance. So again, you should try to recall the lecture, what I have said from the starting. Remember what white does not want and what black wants. So what would black play? Don't rush it. It's a difficult move to tell. Just think how the chain of thought has been, built. You should try to think what now black wants to do. And the answer is in the pawn structure. Remember when I said that if you don't have rook pairs, an opponent has rook pair, exchange one pair of rook, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have bishop pair, an opponent has bishop pair, what will you do? So the move is queen to d4. Forcing exchange of bishop. Now how it is forced? If he goes something like bishop e3, we have queen to e5. Pawn f4, queen c7. And the bishop cannot move anywhere. Okay, bishop d2, but now the bishop is worth nothing.
But what about if we got bishop g3 at the start?
Bishop g3, then it's kind of tricky, because f4 is again, remember the f4 trap.
Then h4.
Okay, so let's do f4, h4, e7.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now it's even more forced in a few moves.
Yeah, it's forced. You cannot avoid it.